I refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt rings.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is Umar for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. To be honest, Frank, I didn't think I'd be speaking to you this morning, but a lot's happened, of course. I've just heard your thing on TalkSport with Alex Krasyuk. At the end of that conversation, you guys said you were going to get on the phone privately. Has that happened?
No, not yet. I'm hoping it will today because we've not cancelled this fight. We really wanted it to happen, and we're moving heaven and earth to make it happen. We had a good conference call on Sunday after it started falling apart and got all the parties together. I think there were 4 lawyers on the call, plus Usyk's team, obviously our team, and there were I think it was about 7 or 8 points on which we knocked down all of them. Got more or less all agreed between us. Bit of drafting to be done on the contracts, and the main one which they really wanted was the rematch clause, which I got Tyson to agree to. And then we've got to a stage where we're been negotiating what the monies will be for the rematch, and it's a bit disappointing really because the 4 belts can only happen once. They can only happen on the 29th. After that, whoever wins, and I think Tyson wins, but whoever wins is going to have to then make some serious decisions as to one, his mandatories, because the people who are in those positions, and you've got Joe Joyce, Daniel Dubois, Hrgovic, they're all going to be pushing to get their opportunity and holding out for the rematch, for the loser to call the rematch on. And where is it going to take place? Is it going to take place in the UK? Is it going into the Middle East, where there is talk it may happen? But the bottom line of all this is that we should just be focusing on the main fight. Everything else is done. Let's just get it on. We want it to happen. Tyson's been in training now for 3 weeks in camp. He's got his sparring partners are all flown in from various parts of the world. His trainer, Sugar Hill's, coming from the States, and he's been training hard from it. So I was a bit disappointed yesterday that what come out late last night about it was all over. So I'm trying hard to keep this going. I want to see it happen. As I say, all terms are agreed except for one issue, and we should get it on. When Usyk fought, is it Gassiev, when they fought for the 2 belts, the unification? I understand there was no rematch clause with that. I know when Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather got it on, there was no rematch clause, and I know they had a rematch clause with Joshua. And we know what the cut of that was, what they were splitting. So, which we have no problem with that. But it's just got a bit silly, and I understand where they're coming from, in as much that Usyk's a real warrior. Let's not take it away from him. He's a warrior. He goes on the road, and he's fought most of his fights. His defences have been on the road and winning titles, but. If he were to win, if he were to beat Tyson, hypothetically beats him, he will get more money from a rematch with Tyson than he will defending against any of his mandatories. So that's where they're coming from, and it is a financial situation, and I get that, I understand it. I don't quite accept it, but I understand it. And I've got to be honest, and I've got to say again, Alex and Aegis have been really good to deal with. And that call on Sunday really went well with everybody. All this nonsense about their 15 minutes to talk about problems. There were those problems, if there were problems, were resolved on Sunday. So it's the rematch, and all we want to do is get the fight on. Tyson doesn't want a rematch. Because he's just saying, let's roll the dice. Whoever wins, wins. Whoever wins got all the belts. That's what he's saying. He doesn't want any.
Convinced him anyways.
But to get it done in the end, he said, he's typical Tyson. He said to me, "I'll do it. Just give it to him." He said, "But I'm telling you, they won't. They'll find something else."
It's pretty clear to me and anyone listening right now that there's one issue left, which is about the split in the rematch clause. So I just want to address everything that's gone on before, because people seem to keep banging on about the 70-30 split and all the other terms that have been agreed. So why in the public, I've heard people on TalkSport, I've heard people across social media are still banging on about things that have already been agreed.
I don't understand that. I mean, what is the point of that? We agreed all that. As I said, on Sunday, I mean, we weren't even discussing the split on Sunday of the fight on the 29th. That's all agreed. They were talking about the ring walk, who's going to walk in. I mean, all the bullshit stuff. Who's going to walk in first? Who's going to get on the scales first? Who's going to do this? Who's do that? How much we're going to allow for transport and travelling and so forth. All those sort of things. Which really, I've got to be honest, when it comes to I never get involved in that anyway. That's what our lawyers or invariably Andy in the office deals with that. But we were so determined to get it done. That's why we asked everybody to get on the phone on Mother's Day on Sunday, and a lot of people had things to do on Sunday. But to everybody's credit, they got on there. To everybody's credit, we got it into a good place. But this thing's come out sort of the woodwork yesterday, and it's an issue.
So, essentially, for April 29th, everything's good to go. Could there be a possibility where you say, let's just deal with the rematch and the terms about that after April 29th?
I have no. Listen, the problem is a rematch, and I know where Tyson's coming from, and I agree with what he says. He signed for a rematch with Deontay Wilder, if you recall, and terms are more or less agreed to make the Joshua fight happen. But I always said at the time, this won't be done till it's signed. And unfortunately, I did a tweet the other day after Arsenal won, saying, big news, because I foolishly thought we were more or less there. But when he did that, they had the outstanding court problem, which they wound up in court with, and I think they spent a couple of $1 million a piece or whatever it was on the court case, and the fight with Joshua didn't happen. We don't want to go down that road again, because there will be mandatories. That no governing body is going to allow the title to be held up from April till December. They're just not going to do that. And remember, you've got the other fighters, two of which we represent. They're going to want to fight. They want to get their opportunity. So to make that happen, you've got to pay all these step-asides. You're going to have to pay step-asides to the three fighters, from the IBF, WBO, and WBA. They're going to want their step-aside money. Promoters of the fighters are going to want their, financially it's going to become ridiculous. And so we didn't want to get bogged down with that again. We want to be clear to move on. And it won't be for the four belts anyway, because it just won't happen. So let's just get this fight away. Whoever wins, wins. Anything can happen in boxing. I fancy, as I say, Tyson to win, but, I fancied a lot of fighters in the past to win and they got beat. But Tyson, to his credit, saying, let's put it all on the line. And they're decent people, and I do understand they're looking to maximise the money they can earn from having two fights with Tyson. Understand it, get it, but please, let's make this work. Let's not let this fall apart.
So you have declared that the rematch clause split that you're offering to them is the same as what was in Usyk Joshua 2, which we know.
What I understand is that's what it was if he wins.
Which we know was 50-50. So I know you're not going to say publicly, but I'm guessing they're pushing for 60-40 or 70-30 in the rematch.
I'm not even going to go there because I don't want to do it publicly, but it is what it is.
Do you think this will be sorted before the end of this weekend?
It's got to be, because I think they put a deadline on the 1st of April that if it's not, then we'll start commencing negotiations for Usyk's mandatory with Daniel.
Frank, till now, as you said, all the terms have been agreed. In terms of the rematch clause split, do you think Tyson might budge, maybe even 10%?
I don't want to get into that. I mean, Tyson at the end of the day will make a decision. Look, let's get it right. He'll earn more money, as I've said, and I know I'm repeating myself, he'll earn more money fighting Tyson twice as a loser. As a loser, he'll earn more money fighting Tyson than as being champion fighting one of the other guys.
And you can categorically say this is the last point.
Well, unless they come up with something else. But that was based off of what we discussed on Sunday. We got everything over the line, and that was the real outstanding point. There's some drafting issues, I think, which your lawyers had to sort out in the contract, but they're not debatable. It's just how certain clauses are worded. But that's lawyer talk. They can get on with that and do that.
Frank, clearly there's two over the last 5 years in this division. There's been two cash cows, if you like, in the heavyweight division. That's been Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. Now, Oleksandr Usyk has boxed Anthony Joshua twice, so you can say his chapter with one of, if you like, the biggest financial players in the heavyweight division is done. Yeah. There remains to be fights with obviously Tyson Fury for Oleksandr Usyk. So is he in a position here now where he has to take this fight with Tyson Fury? Because if you look around the rest of the heavyweight division, there's brilliant fights for him, including some of your fighters, but they're not going to generate anywhere near the money that a fight with Joshua or Fury would.
From a business point of view, the fight with Tyson is the one that generates the most income for him. But no one says this is what he's got to do. He's his own man. What I've liked about him is what he said from the beginning. I want to unify the belts. So we're trying to make that happen between all of us. But it's his choice what he wants to do. At the end of the day, we can't force fighters to fight if they're not happy. If they're not happy, they're not going to sign up. And it's not like these are ordered fights. These are not ordered by a governing body. We've managed to get the 4 governing bodies on side to make it happen. Once. Not a rematch, once. Do
you think they're trying to mount public pressure on you? Is that why Alex and Aegis came out publicly today?
Yeah, I mean, look, they obviously felt that's the way, so they've come out and we've got to respond to what's been said. And, what's been said was not my view, certainly after speaking as we all spoke and got on so well on Sunday on the conference call. But look, it is what it is. And you heard, anybody who listened in to TalkSport, you hear what's said by the both of us. Both got to have views, both entitled to have views. I respect them. I really do respect Alex. He's a very good promoter, and Aegis is a very, very good manager. He manages a lot of good fighters. And also Tyson's he's not just a good fighter, he's massive box office. He's got 3 #1 books. He's got a series going out on Netflix. I don't think it's far away from going onto the screen. He's massive. We've seen what he does as far as tickets concerned, and his box office. And he's fortunate for any fighters who are around now to be able to fight him because he's the guy who delivers the money. It's no different than Canelo. It's no different with Mayweather. They were all guys who deliver money. You go back over the years and look at the Allies. You look at the Ray Leonards and all those guys. They were the guys who had the following, the public behind them. And if you fought them, you got a great payday.
Until now, there have been issues, but everything's been solved. So over the next 48 hours or however long you guys want to leave it, someone's going to have to budge, obviously. Either you guys get the rematch clause split that you're after, or they get it. How confident are you that actually happens? Because otherwise we're not going to get a fight, it seems like.
Well, I'm not confident. I was confident, but I'm not giving up on it. I'm not like, everybody saying it's off. For me, it's not off. It's not. It won't be off until we give up on it, and I'm not going to give up on it. We're still trying to get it over the line. We'll do everything we can to get it over the line. Fighter that I'm involved with and represent, he's been in training and working very hard. As I said, he's brought his people over, his trainer over, he's been in camp, and he wants to fight on the 29th. A lot of people at the time didn't think he was going to be ready for the 29th, and I think that's what made it easy to say, right, we'll do the 70-30, we'll do this, we'll do that, but they didn't think he was going to be ready, because they said at the time, make sure this is only if the fight happens on the 29th. Well, guess what, guys? We've got the 29th booked at Wembley, and he's ready to go, our man.
Does it have to be April 29th?
Well, yeah, because where do we go then? What about Daniel Dubois and the other guys who are waiting around? Provided Joe Joyce comes through his fight on the 15th, he's going to be banging on the door, and the WBO are going to be saying, look, mandatory's due. So we've got a window. The window is what was asked for by the other side, because we wanted to push it back originally. The window of the 29th to do this was what they requested, and that's why we're at where we're at with it.
Seems like that's the last opportunity as well where we get full belts on the line.
I think so.
Okay, well, I hope for boxing's sake that does get over the line. What's your response to people in the public eye who probably don't have all the information about what's gone on and feel like it's your side, i.e. you and Tyson, who are to blame for this? What would you say to them, Frank?
I would say, as we've said, we've agreed everything. It's the one outstanding point. And if you listen to Talk Sport, and you make your decision. If you want it, look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to change people's opinion. Their opinion's their opinion. And I've got to be honest, whatever they think, they think. I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it either way. All I know is the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter is, as I said when Alex and myself was on Talk Sport and said what our position was, I want to make this fight happen. I desperately want it to happen because history and my ego is I want to put that fight on. I want to be promoting that fight along with Top Rank and K2. We want to get it on. We want to create history.
Okay, just away from this, a couple of things I want to talk to you about. Obviously, you got your fight week this week on BT Sport in Telford. We'll come on into that in a second. But yesterday, I think, well, a lot of the talk in boxing, the whole boxing world, we're talking about Simon Jordan and Eddie Hearn on Talk Sport. What did you make of the phone call itself?
I thought it was quite interesting. Somebody played it back to me, and I thought it was very good. I thought it's good radio. That's what it's about, a bit of controversy, and I think he's a good advocate, Simon Jordan. He does his research really well, and puts his points across. And everybody's got their views of what the end result was, who proved their point, and I think he proved his point.
So you scored it for Jordan then?
I did. How did you see it, truthfully?
I'll sell you off camera, Frank. To end as well, obviously Heaney Flatley this Saturday tops the bill, but you've got some interesting fights on the card, notably as well Kane and Baluta.
It's a good fight.
Again, we've got another show clash. We seem to have this a lot in boxing with Sky this weekend. Any thoughts on that?
It's disappointing. I mean, it's very disappointing. But we put our dates in ages ago, and I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know when they put their date is and the venue's available, and I've got to get my guys out. It's a shame. I don't want to see that happen. It doesn't make any sense. All we're doing is we are diminishing each other's audience. And that doesn't make any sense because at the end of the day, you want to be going in on Sunday morning. You want the execs to look at the numbers and say, "Wow, we've done really well." But if you're putting one up against, we're up against each other, it's got to wind up dividing the audience. It's a fact of life.
But yeah, thoughts on your fights itself?
I think our fights are really good fights. I think they're evenly matched, and I think I think there's some really, really good fights there. And obviously we've got some of our youngsters coming through as well, who I've got a lot of faith in to be the champions of the future.
Well, the day after, England and Ukraine play. Obviously, it's international break, so hopefully we get another England-Ukraine announcement by early next week. Frank, thank you very much for your time. Anything you want to add?
No, I just sincerely hope, Alex, Aegis, and more important, Mr. Usyk, you're watching this. Let's get this done on the 29th.
Okay, Frank, thank you very much for your time. Speak soon.
Refuse to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,